Welcome back. I want to share with you three mindset tricks that are going to get you through the holidays, the new year anxiety. It comes around every year if you're anything like me and you notice stuff tends to happen. We tend to have these patterns that come up every year from that lead up time to Christmas and then around the New Year's Eve period. There are the same patterns we tend to think, the same anxiety triggers. I want to go into the three most common ones here with you so that we can hack around them and we can stop them tripping us up. So, this is what I've noticed coming up from me in my own experience, coming up for my clients, the discussions I've been having, the sessions I've been working with people in lately. So, let's dive into it. I want to talk you through these three tricks. The first one is, first trick of the mind, that we're going to trick the mind right back, is this idea, this thought that we tend to think of, have I achieved enough? Or have I made enough progress over the year? And this is such a annoying one because it really comes back to comparison. It's really got nothing to do with what you have and haven't done. It really comes back to looking at other people and thinking, well, they've done more. And it almost, or potentially you had some expectations that, well, beyond your capacity, and you haven't met those expectations. And that can happen too. Remembering though, our mind is always going to move those goalposts of what we achieve and keep moving our expectations beyond what we've already achieved, because that's how the mind works. It's never satisfied with where we are at. When it comes to this idea of have I made enough progress, often we look at, well, look what that other person did. Look what they've achieved. They've made this much money, or they just got a promotion, or that person has taken the next step through in their relationship and I haven't done that, or whatever it might be. Often we've got goals that we set out last year, and then you look back at those goals and yeah, maybe you've actually achieved some of them, but maybe there's the ones you don't. And those are always going to be the ones that stand out to the anxious mind. It's always going to pick out what you didn't do versus what you did do. So herein lies our power and our ability to turn this around. When you start to ask this question or ruminate on this anxious thought, I haven't achieved enough, I haven't made enough progress. Okay, let's look at what you have done. So firstly, getting out a pen and paper, actually writing it down, spending some time with this. What did you achieve? And what things did you possibly achieve that weren't even goals that you set, that maybe just came to you effortlessly? I love picking out these ones too, because they remind us that what you are actively controlling with your mind is not the end of the story when it comes to what comes into our lives and what makes us feel safe and what makes us feel like we're having our needs met and we're making an impact. What actually is involved in this is an element of circumstances, opportunity, what comes up, those surprises that the universe has in store. And we never seem to factor these ones in. So just making sure you include those ones as well, and getting that little sense of hope in the sense that there are surprises. There are always things that we achieve in a sense, or wonderful things that come into our life that we had no control over, and we still got these wonderful gifts and blessings come to us. So making a list of all of those things, reminding yourself of what you have achieved, counteracting the part of your mind that automatically wants to go to the negative and what you haven't achieved, come back to what you have achieved and really focus on being proud of yourself for each of those things. Now, when it comes to the goals that you might have set, let's say you set some goals. I prefer the idea of setting intentions, by the way, rather than goals, because life is so open to what's meant for us in the sense of those opportunities that come along and the roadblocks that we hit and what we think we're meant to be doing that ends up being something totally different that's way better for us. So for example, you might have a goal to get a promotion at work, and then next thing you find you've been asked to leave that job and you're like, well, hang on, that I've completely messed up here. I've not made progress. I'm not on the right track in my life. When next thing, potentially, you end up applying for a job after a month of like losing it and being like, who am I? What should I be doing? You gather yourself together, you apply for other jobs, or maybe you start your own business or something else happens that's way better for you. You know, life is never just bad stuff and it's never just good either. It's 50-50. So when something bad happens, or, you know, that you perceive to be bad, like a failure, you know there's always going to be something good that balances it out. You can see this pattern in our lives. It's always there, 50-50. We're never always in the bad and we're never always in the good. So it keeps revolving that way. So having that openness, that hope that there are things, intentions you can set or goals you can set that are going to go off path, even for next year, right? Being proud of what you have achieved and understanding that you didn't have control over all of it. The next thing to look at is to realize where you've been comparing yourself to others rather than actually what you want in your life, right? So having that awareness that you're living your life, you're in your lane, your race, and we all have a very different set of ideas around what we want our lives to be, what's valuable to us, what is important, where do we want to be investing our energy. So keeping that in mind too, that just because a friend of yours or someone on social media has achieved X, Y, and Z, does not mean that's for you. You could achieve those things and be totally unhappy. That person might have achieved those things and be totally unhappy. We hear all the time stories about people who, you know, reach their goal weight or reach a milestone in business. And they're like, oh, why aren't I happy? This happens all the time. Remembering that true happiness comes from within yourself. It's the way you speak to yourself. It's what you experience in the now. It's how much you can soak up the juice of your life now and what really matters to you. For me, those are things like time in nature, connections with people I love, those moments where you just feel like life is flowing and you don't have a care in the world and you get struck with creative inspiration. That's what I'm living for. That's what success means to me. But to create that success, I might need some time. I might need some space. And to create the space, I might need to hit certain financial goals. So that's kind of the way I see it versus getting all caught up on just that financial goal or a, you know, body weight. I mean, gosh, we're just sending ourselves into a spiral of never enough when we go down that road. So that's that one. The next thing to look at too, as you look back over, have I achieved enough? Put it into context of the immense challenges you've risen above and gone through as well. So as I look back at my last 6 to 12 months, I have to put a lot of things in context as to what life circumstances have popped up too. You all know I had COVID, and to be honest, that was probably a bit of a 2-month roadblock for me in the sense of how it, you know, just slowed me down a bit. It's been a lot of, you know, brain fog and not being where my mind might want me to be in terms of getting stuff done. So we have to put things into context. What other challenges have you been working through? Be kind to yourself. So that's mind trick number one. Mind trick number two, the way our mind will trick us, and we can trick it right back, is this idea of this recurring thought over the holiday time of needing to be happy. I need to be really happy because it's Christmas, or because, you know, it's summer, especially in Australia, it's summer. For those on the other side of the world, in the Northern Hemisphere, well, you might also have this feeling of I need to be happy because it's meant to be the jolly season, the silly time. And you might be asking yourself, am I enjoying my break enough? Am I making the most of it? And that can be a way that anxiety creeps in. It certainly can pop in for me in that sense. So how do we counteract this? Well, it's really important to just be kind to yourself, let yourself off the hook, understand that berating yourself with these questions is going to take you away from enjoyment of the moment now. And that's really just a signal that there's some stress, some anxiety to manage there. Maybe there's some emotions to release. Maybe there's been some stuff that you've been burying down and, you know, keep on keeping on through the year. And now it's kind of bubbling to the surface because you've actually stopped. So you might need to go have a big cry, really release your emotions. And if you let yourself feel it, you'll notice the anxiety subsides, and then you're in a space where you actually can be happier. You can make space for that joy in the moment now. So really taking the pressure off the expectation that this needs to be a really happy time, just because it's your 2 weeks off for the year or whatever it might be, doesn't mean that every moment has to be spent jolly and free and totally relaxed. Life is still 50-50. Don't forget that 50-50 rule. So we're still going to have things that challenge us. We're going to have, maybe you booked something and you arrive and they lost the booking and your whole day's been messed up and the plans change, or the car breaks down on the side of the road and you can't make it to the event you were going to. Or maybe, I don't know, the plumbing breaks in your house and you're like dealing with that through your holiday time. There's so many different ways that things can go awry, but just being really gentle with yourself, knowing this doesn't have to be anything. When you make the time period not have to be something in particular, suddenly you can enjoy it. Suddenly there is peace. If you need help with this, I would recommend going back to the episode I did where it's about when you're feeling anxious right now. I'll link it in the show notes, and it's just talking you through coming back to accepting this moment now, that everything's just as it should be. So it's a great episode to listen to when you're feeling anxious. Okay, the third mind trick at this time of year is this little creeping in of like, do I even deserve this break? Have I earned this break? Am I being lazy? Resisting the urge to keep doing. Now I'm approaching, it's tomorrow. Tomorrow is my last day of being on in my business that I've mentally framed for myself. So from Christmas Eve, the 24th onwards, I am closed for business. I am out for my break for the year. And my mind does not like this. It's trying to, it wants me to keep booking and work stuff. It wants me to keep ruminating over my vision and how I can better help people and what can I do to do more in the new year. But the higher part of me, my higher perspective knows if I really switch off, if I give myself this time to not need to focus on work, to not take on any responsibility in that sense, the solutions are actually going to find me faster. I'm going to have those moments of inspiration. I need to be fully immersed in nature, in my body, feeling alive in this life to actually find a lot of those solutions. They don't actually come from the mind a lot of the time. As you might notice, as we've been talking about, we don't have as much control over our lives as we think, in that sense of what the mind thinks it needs to do. It's allowed to just sit back and relax. And most of the time, things just flow to us regardless. Solutions flow to us when we are in flow. This is why I love flow and the idea of living that way. So even though the mind wants to keep trucking on, really tuning in, what I'm doing is tuning into that higher perspective, that greater part of me that knows there's going to be such a bigger payoff, even though it doesn't feel logical, in a complete slowdown. That's actually going to mean I can quantum leap, take a huge leap forward with an action that is really coming from an aligned place, coming from me being so in tune and connected to myself, talking to my intuition, finding that wisdom within and bringing that energy to my work in the new year. This doesn't have to be just for work like mine. It can be creative stuff, but it can also be solving, coming up with a whole new strategy. If you're a CEO, or if you are, you might be running your own business, but you might also be like trying to be that linchpin at work and come up with like a new innovative way that the business can run and how you can be more indispensable at work. Those ideas can come to you when you give yourself the space. And the space doesn't mean sitting there meditating constantly. You can do that a bit, but what is it you just enjoy doing? Go do that. And I bet you those ideas are just going to pop into your mind when you're in the middle of doing something else. This is how it works. It gets to be easier than our minds will have us believe, especially the anxiety. The anxiety just tells us, no, no, control it all, control it all. You know, that actually means we end up chasing our tail, wasting energy, spending, 6 months potentially working on something that doesn't even really align with who you are and make you happy at the end of the day. This is how we get those real results that we want and really align ourselves to where we want to be in our lives, taking time to just enjoy life. So one way we can kind of move around this idea of, do I deserve this break, is really understanding how productive it is, understanding how much you can leverage this time by leveraging action. When you are really, truly inspired, you get bigger results in your life. So that can also be in relationships, that can be in your health. There's so many different ways that this alignment can come and find us. So when you're asking, do I deserve it? Well, yeah, like you're going to get so much out of this if you actually give yourself that time and that space. You'll be able to have ideas and inspiration. You need to create the space for inspiration to then be able to really leverage the actions you take as you go into the new year. Am I being lazy? Well, again, no, it's so productive, this rest. And I bet, let's not even talk about whether you've earned it or not. Of course you have. You deserve rest whenever you need it. And this is something that we just need to move through, understanding you were told that it's lazy to rest by people who have their own traumas and their own stories. It's not the truth. And as I have just explained to you, you're going to get so much more out of your life just by giving yourself this space. Giving yourself a mental frame of this rest period can be really helpful to kind of pacify our mind. So I have given myself 3 weeks off, and I know what those 3 weeks means. I have sort of got a vision of what that's going to look like, not expectations, but just a sense of that's my off time. I won't be checking emails. I won't be, as active on social media. I might post things just because I enjoy it, but I'm only going to do it when I feel that inspiration to enjoy it. If I go a few days without posting anything, so be it. That's fine. And, I might have my assistant checking in and posting things for me in that time anyway, but really allowing yourself to take over that space, so that it's almost like when you were at school, in school days, you didn't think, am I being lazy for having a school holiday? You just sort of went, yeah, I've got 2 weeks off, or I've got how many ever weeks off. And so this is using that same concept, but just creating it in your own life, on your own timeline, just for you. So I know at the end of these 3 weeks, yeah, I'll be back into it. We'll be going again. But now this is my off season. So can you paint out that off season for yourself? Can you really give yourself those defined dates? And maybe even if you start work again in the first week of January or the second week of January, maybe allowing a space where you don't have to then also take on all the other things that you used to do. Maybe you also volunteer. Maybe there's other activities you do. Maybe you can just push those back for the last week of January. Like, can you give yourself some more space, even if you have to say, go back to work? Now, another thing that can be really helpful is painting those boundaries with family members or people around you who might say, well, I need you to help me, or why aren't you doing this? Or you've got all this time. That's probably one of the most challenging ones, is when people see that you're taking a break, they think you've got all this space to help them. You've got to be really protective of that time for yourself. That's your space for you, where you are recharging so that you can be more of what you want to be in the new year. So how do we communicate these boundaries? We need to just assert and say, oh, I don't have the capacity for that. Actually, I have plans today. Say you have plans, even if your plans are just being at home or just chilling out. Those are still plans and they are valid, and it is worth it for you to protect your energy at this time. So those are my tricks to get around the mind tricks of this holiday New Year time. I hope that's really helpful for you guys. And as you're listening to this, yeah, I am probably going to be, future me is going to be hanging out on a sun lounge somewhere, just chilling out, enjoying life, but also not expecting to enjoy life. Who knows? Maybe I'll be crying. Maybe I'll be releasing some emotion or doing some deep journaling. I don't know. But regardless, it's been so wonderful to chat to you guys today. And I look forward to speaking to you again soon. And have a wonderful, wonderful new year if I don't speak to you before then. Now, if you're ready to take things to the next level, to go on the deep dive into the anxiety reset method and all the work that I teach in my 90-day container, I invite you to join us in the Anxiety Reset program. This is 90 days of working through every facet that could be contributing to high functioning anxiety, building your resilience, your physical resilience within your physical body. So we're talking about your gut health, your hormones, your nutrition, the way you're sleeping, the way you are living your life. We also, at the same time, work on your thoughts and beliefs, but we do the physical stuff along the side so that it's so much easier to sit down and do the work. The brain's receiving the nutrients it needs. Your body, your nervous system is naturally able to be calmer. It's being supported and nourished so that when it comes to questioning your beliefs, when it comes to rewiring your anxious mind, the process flows so much more easily. I am obsessed with this work. I absolutely adore it. We now have bonus new hypnotherapy added in to the Anxiety Reset program. So it's all updated with new content for anyone that signs up. You can go explore that. Hit the link in the show notes and you can find all about the program. If you're ready to do the work, I will give you all the tools you need to change your life and become an anxiety master. Included in the Anxiety Reset program is 3 months bonus access to the Anxiety Masters membership, which is our live events component. Now you can join the Masters membership right now if you like, just to dip your toe in the water and get started. Or if you want to continue the work and have those reminders on a monthly basis, you can also become an anxiety master. This is the ongoing path to mastery, where we practice the concepts, we build on what you learn in the Anxiety Reset program, and we take it further. This is how you show up consistently for yourself to do the inner work. If you've ever struggled to find the time to do this stuff, by signing up to the membership, it's already booked in your calendar on a monthly basis. It's regular enough that you are going to get results and you're going to keep moving forward. We have monthly breathwork classes, workshops run by me, and my group coaching as well. You'll be immersed in a community of women just like you who also want to celebrate slowing down, who also want to go for their dreams, those crazy ideas of maybe I can live my life in this way that feels so good in my heart. It's all available to you. No matter which option you choose, whether you go straight into the Anxiety Reset program, you dip your toe in the water with the Anxiety Masters membership, or you stick with us through the year in the Masters membership, I will ensure that you become an anxiety master. Thank you for listening. We have reached the end of this episode. If you enjoy this podcast and you find it helpful, I would really appreciate it if you would hit subscribe or share this episode on your Instagram stories and make sure you tag @Georgie the Naturopath. But that is all for today. Please be kind to yourselves. Know that you are enough and you are exactly where you need to be.